Welcome to the Land to Lots podcast, powered by Launch Development Finance Advisors. And now your host, Carter Froelich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Land to Lots podcast. My name is Carter Froelich, and it's great to be before you again here today. And as you all know, the purpose of Land to Lots is to provide meaningful, usable information primarily to the development and home building industries. And the reason we provide this information is we really want people to be able to utilize this information to help them finance infrastructure, reduce infrastructure costs, mitigate transaction risk, all with the goal of enhancing project profitability. Today, we're going to take a little different spin, and we're going to provide ways for our listeners to increase the returns on their life and create what we call are going to be discussing here today, a fantastic life. Now, I'm not going to be the guide on this journey. I've brought in my friend who I've known for, Craig, I think it must be at least 30, 40 years now.
Long time.
Yep. So welcome, everybody. And I'd like to bring Craig Coppola to the fore. And for those of you who may not know Craig is the top producing broker in Lee and Associates' 40-year history. He's completed approximately $4 billion and counting worth of transactions since he started with Lee. And he is also the founding member of Lee and Associates Arizona office, and that's how Craig and I know one another. And Craig is also an accomplished author. He wrote Chasing Excellence with Bill Lee, who is the namesake of Lee and Associates. He also completed the book, The Art of Commercial Real Estate Leasing, as well as How to Win in Commercial Real Estate Investing. And the two books we're going to be talking about today primarily, The Fantastic Life and Rocks, Gravel, Sand, Crush Big Rock Goals and Live Your Fantastic Life. And as a fun fact, and you might be able to see it in the background, but Craig was drafted into the Minnesota Twins, so he may or may not be talking about that experience. And he's completed more, and this is really hard to even say, let alone comprehend. He's completed more than 80 marathons, including ultra marathons, one of which is the 156-mile Marathon des Soleils, which is done in the Sahara Desert. So imagine that, running 156 miles in the desert. Craig, that was awesome, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And the reason I have Craig here today is he came in and spoke to all of the land advisors at our kickoff meeting at the beginning of the year, and he was talking about The Fantastic Life and why he wrote it, the book, and what his guidelines are for creating a fantastic life. And I thought this is really meaningful information that should be shared with everyone. So Craig, I want to say thank you for taking the time today to speak with us. And before we get started, maybe you could share a little bit about yourself that I didn't share. And then more importantly, what inspired you to write The Fantastic Life?
Well, thank you, Carter. I'm excited to be here. Really excited. You and I have known each other a long time, and you have such a good life, and we in our industry we've been so blessed. I think for me, if you wanted me to share something that you didn't share, I have a wife, Tracy. We've been married almost 35 years. We have 4 adult children, 3 grandkids. So when I look at my fantastic life and we talk about this, it's like, how do I not include that piece as well? Mm-hmm. And so for me, what I really wanted, I knew early on that I was going to be a driver and I was going to really try and be successful in our industry, in the commercial real estate industry. But I didn't want to do it at the expense of everything else. And so my idea was, how could it took me a long time to get my arms around it. How can I live a life, which ultimately became this fantastic life, that would be not just that I was going to be the top producer at Lee and Associates. It would not just be that I ran a bunch of marathons and did some really cool stuff in my life, that I would also have a long-standing relationship with my partner, Tracy,
Mhm.
and then our kids and now our grandkids. So that's what the genesis of this was. And so now over the last decade, it's kind of filled out.
Great. And one of the things we're going to do, Craig, is in the show notes is put a link to the book, for those that would
Great.
like the audio book or to
Great.
download, and we'll put it in there for all your books. But maybe to kick off the listeners, to give them some understanding, you could provide the Reader's Digest version to, I believe there are 12 rules that you include in the rules for a fantastic life. And then we won't necessarily do a deep dive on all of them. We'll focus on a couple that may be more of the linchpins related to the fantastic life.
So in 2013, I got cancer, and I had an outline for a book at the time called The Fantastic Life, and we published it while I was going through chemo. And so in 2013, early 14, we published the original book called The Fantastic Life. It had 18 rules. Over the next 9 years, I kind of refined those rules, and because we're always growing, and I'm actually writing the third book to the series now. It's The Fantastic Life Act 3, which is now that I'm in my 60s. But the Fantastic Life Revisited, which is the one that was published in 2023, has 12 rules. I refined them, come down, and they start with know your stories. And it was really these are rules that as I was going through my life, started saying to myself, this is a rule. This is something I should live by. And know your stories, and basically the stories that you tell yourself is one of those ones. The second rule is be crystal clear on what you want. If you don't have clarity in your life, you're never going to really go anywhere. And so I really spend a ton of time on clarity. Number 3 is I have this rule: build your resumes, and I have different resumes. I have a husband resume, and I'm building my husband resume every year. I have a father resume, and I'm building it. Like next on Saturday, 48 hours from now, I'm going to Africa with 2 of my 4 kids and my daughter-in-law. And so it's just the 4 of us. So this is a resume building experience. We're going to do a safari, just the 4 of us. Now, rule 4 is play where you can win, because we sometimes get just really, especially in our commercial real estate business, you might know land development, but all of a sudden you're buying an office building, or you might know office building, but because I'm successful as an office building lease, I can lease office buildings, I should be able to develop residential lots.
Yeah.
And so that's not really necessarily make sense. Number 5 is get wins. We got to get wins. That's rule number 5. And rule number 6, set goals. I'm a goal setter, always have been, massive goal setter. Number 7, stay out of the gap. The gap will take a little bit of time to talk about, but basically it's where you are and where you think you should be. There is a gap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in that gap, life sucks. And so we got to learn how to stay out of that. Number 8 is use a 2% rule. I'm a big, if you can do 5 push-ups, let's do 1 more, 2% more. Rule number 9, there's 2 kinds of pain, which is the pain of, actually discipline, doing something. This morning I was up, we're training for our summer hike this summer, and there I was at 4:00 in the morning with a 30-pound rucksack, getting my ass kicked. But that's the pain of discipline. Or the other pain is the price you have to pay if you have regret.
Right.
Rule 10, take the decisions out of the moment. So we want to plan our life so that we're not living decision moment by moment. Number 11, don't waste time, which is, these aren't rocket science ones. They're just rules that I've kind of told myself.
Yeah.
And the last one, which everybody seems to talk about, we'll probably spend more time on, is rule number 12, do nothing in moderation.
Yeah. Now, and guys and listeners, there is so much detail, and I really encourage you to get the book and to go into what all of this means. But these 12 rules, and I guess I look back at my life, just part of knowing your story, right? I mean, things happen to us in our lives growing up in families. We're all human, and some of the stories we tell our true self may be holding us back, right? And we have to learn, is that true? Is that story true? Do I buy into that? Or is this something that, you know, I've just been conditioned to believe? And can I rewrite my story to have something more abundant?
And we can.
Yeah, we
We
can.
can. We
Yeah.
can. Every story we talk to ourselves, Carter, should be a story of learning or a story of
Yeah.
empowering. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be a story of woe. And I think one of the things that I've learned is, of course, we've all had some trauma in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
How do we take that and how do we turn it into something positive? So
Yep.
the rule number one is really, you talk about linchpins. It's like I say this all the time. If you talk to yourself if you say the things that you say to yourself and you say to somebody, you would probably either get fired or you would
Yeah.
be, get some kind of EEOC complaint. And we allow ourselves to talk to ourselves that way. And I decided I'm not going to do that, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
And I tell it, and I've got a lot of issues. Let's just put it that way. And I tell everybody,
that's
you
so
know,
good.
my brain's trying to kill me every day,
Every
and
day, right? There
but
you
I
go.
acknowledge it and I go, oh, yep, there it is. It's, I got to do more. I got to do this. I got to, a lot of should haves and musts and those can be very positive if directed in the right
That's right.
way, right? So we're more than just our work resume. There's
We
the
we
family, there's the grandparent, there's husband, there's community leader, or spiritual
Yep.
community. I mean, there's lots of different resumes that we can and talk about that issue. And then I'm diverting off of our some of our questions a little bit,
No, it's
but
great.
talk about these resumes that you do and how you look at your resume, because it's much different than the way most people look at, I've got a resume, should I want to look for another job? Okay.
Right. Yeah, and it's right. You do this resume, and like we started Lean Associates in 1991, and I haven't moved since,
Yeah.
and so I haven't had a need to update that resume. But I do every single year. I update my business resume. I want to say, did I grow? I don't want to be the same broker that I was last year. I want clients to understand I'm in a growth mode with them. So I have this business resume, of course, but I also wanted to be a growing husband, and I also wanted to be a father. As you know, you
Yeah.
raise kids. It's like the kids that my wife and I just got back. We just spent 4 days with two of my grandkids. We watched them while my daughter and her husband had a trip, and it's like, boy, raising kids is a young man's game. And so it's like I'm building a resume with my grandkids right now that is way different than the ones that I had with my kids. And
Mhm.
and because it's a way different time, I'm a different person, and the relationship I'm trying to build with them is going to be something that I want as a resume for me. And
Right.
so it's really a mindset perspective to say, don't sit on your laurels. Don't sit there and say, I updated my resume 20 years ago and that's who I am, because that's bullshit.
Yep.
We want to grow. I think a fantastic life is a life of continued growth forever.
Yep.
And this is one way to look at it.
And life, I tell everybody here, life is not lived in the comfort zone. And if you're
That's right.
looking, at least from a professional standpoint, if you're
100%.
looking for a place to come in and just log 40 hours, this is not the place for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Those are not the individuals we're looking
Right.
for,
Right. That's right.
and after you spoke at Land Advisors, I went back and I took your advice, Craig, and I got out the Excel and I started building multiple different resumes and
Nice.
putting on their goals for each one. What do I want to do to be a better husband, to be a better father, to be a better leader, to be a better business consultant? And it's really clarifying. Meaning in terms of what then becomes important to you to get to the second point, the second rule of a fantastic life, be crystal clear on what you
what you
want.
want.
Yeah.
So in your business, you and I had met right when you had started Launch,
Yep.
and I remember you saying you were pretty excited about your new product, and I'm like, okay, that's going in my mind. When I hear that you're super excited about it, that part of your resume was going to grow that year because you were going to have to grow.
Yep.
Which everybody says, well, you can't grow everything all the time, and I go, no, but you can make one small change. So
Yep.
the year you started Launch, and that was super focusing. It's like, well, that maybe one piece as a dad could
Yep.
get better. It
Yep.
doesn't have to. I don't have to revamp my entire resumes.
Yeah.
I just look at them and say, this is who I am. How can I get a little better? And where are, like, we started a software company, commercial real estate software company, 3 years ago, and I knew that would take more time.
Yeah.
So it's taking away other time on other things, but it's okay. That's okay. So what I want to do is say, just improve that other resume that you're not spending all the
Yeah.
time on it a little bit.
2%.
And this one, yeah,
Yeah.
2%. There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
I like it.
And
That's right.
it's always interesting because when I sold, we started the other firm when I first met you in 1991.
Yep.
My partners and I set it up in California, and I sold that interest in 2018 and set up Launch. And I told myself 3 years.
Right, right,
3 years.
right, right. Yeah.
And it's not the goals that entrepreneurs set up, it's the time frames, right?
That's
That
right.
drive us crazy.
Right.
And Craig, for those listeners who may or may not know, Craig and I are both members of the Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan, and we see each other in Chicago occasionally when we're there
Yep.
at the same time. But to move that time frame out to 25 years,
Yes.
and it gives us a lot more time, and then you begin to realize I don't need the 25 years to build this.
Right, right.
I only need 10, but I'm not going to do it in 3. Yeah.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think this idea of constantly, you talked about clarity. It's the clarity of the direction that we're going. And
Right.
if you say, look, this is where I'm headed, this is a 3-year, but now it's turning into a 10-year, but the successes that you're having are pretty amazing. And you go, okay, well, this is a journey. I didn't necessarily think I'd be on a year 4, 5, 6, but here I am, and I'm happy with it because I'm experiencing additional things. And so
Right.
one of the things we talk about in our software company is a horizon planning. It's like you can only see as far as the horizon, so you can plan to the horizon. Then you get to the horizon, and sure enough, there's the new horizon there.
Right.
So we're going to plan the next horizon. So we're doing horizon planning. At some point, you're going to have a vision, and you go, "This is the end game here."
Yeah. Yep.
And so that's what we're working on for clarity.
And out of we mentioned this earlier, but we have the 12 steps, 12 rules to lead a fantastic life. If you were going to hone in on 2, and I think you may have alluded to this a little bit, what would be the 1 or 2 rules that you think hold the whole system plan together, Craig?
Well, I don't do a talk on Fantastic Life without doing clarity, right?
Mhm.
I don't ever do anything without, because if you don't have clarity in your life, being crystal clear on your clarity, and then I follow that up with the last rule, which is do nothing in moderation.
Yep.
Because clarity tells you your next direction. This guy I follow, Tom Bly, who says, if you don't know what you need to do in the next 15 minutes, you don't have enough clarity in your life. And so to my point is, clarity gives me the direction, and then I go like hell in that direction. I
Right.
do nothing else in moderation. I don't need to do all these other things.
Yeah.
I don't need to be, and again, it sounds like I do a lot of things, and I do, but that is all I do. I don't have a little tiny habit. I'm not painting on the weekends. That's not a
Yeah.
habit for me. So I have lots of clarity,
Yeah.
and that clarity allows me to get super focused and do nothing in moderation.
Yep.
So
And
those two.
let's jump into that, because one of the things that we hire, and we're continuing to grow, and we talk with a lot of folks, and a lot of them are younger than
Yeah.
us right now.
Yep.
And it's amazing to me what the attitude is for some of the interviewees that we're discussing on how easy it's going to be to succeed. And success can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but let's just use money, because it's easy to keep score on that one. The the lack of reality, I think, in what it takes to be successful in business. I know what you've gone through because I've seen you do it and you've talked about it. But for me, it was 60 hours a week, half day Saturday, half day Sunday for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to do that. Now, the things that I'm doing during that time frame have gone from 12 things to 3. I just do 3 things really well. And that's all I really want to do going forward. But let's start unpacking do nothing in moderation. And what's your take on that? I mean, I know what it took for me to get here, and we can delve into that and what it means in terms of personal and business success.
I think, and you can say it lots of different ways. Warren Buffett says it. He has a 25-5 rule. He says, write down your top 25 goals and then pick out the top 5 of those 25 and throw the other 20 away.
Yeah.
That's do nothing in moderation. It's like if you have certain roles in your life, a husband, father, professional, spiritual, physical, financial. That's it. They're like, okay, these are what I'm doing. And what's my number one goal financially? Go get it. What's my number one rule as a goal as a husband this year? Go get it. And so when I say do nothing in moderation, I mean we are so focused, we are so locked in, because I believe living a fantastic life is doing exactly what you want to do and hitting all those marks.
Yep.
What I don't do is I don't set unrealistic goals.
Yep.
I set long-term goals, right? To your point,
yeah.
They might be a little longer than I think. But what I do is like, I'm trying to get to the wins. I'm trying to get to that next level to get some wins. So when I say do nothing in moderation, I do not want to go out there and go that like, if I'm going to spend my time working out, I'm going to work out.
Yeah.
If I'm going to spend my time with you, we're going to stay focused. It's with you.
Right.
And this is what we're trying to do. And that leads me to be a little bit more present. So I'm not doing anything in moderation anymore. I'm trying to be more present, trying to be more centered. And that idea is I'm in where I need to be. I'm not hanging out with guys that I don't want to hang out or gals that I don't want to hang out with anymore. Those aren't in my life.
Yep.
And to your point on the 60 hours a week, I say this, this is the only thing we know, right? We just bludgeoned work. And everybody we come in now says, well, I'm going to work smarter than you did. And I'm like, I think I'm pretty smart. and I worked my ass off. And so when you have Tiger Woods, when you have such good talent and you combine it with a work ethic, then you're going to have magic. And I think that's what we want.
Yeah. And it's creating those habits.
You have been listening to the Land to Lots podcast with Carter Froelich. Follow us wherever you find your podcast to never miss a new episode.